Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, what's going on, buddy?
So I like this new setup.
We're back again.
Yeah, back again.
Yeah, man.
It
was different recording in this format last time, wasn't it?
So I have two comments
All right.
about this. First comment is, you said that my sweater looked like Mr. Rogers. And I beg to differ with that. I'm thinking
That's a classy Mr. Rogers.
I'm thinking more Tom Cruise, Top Gun kind of look here. That's what I'm thinking. Not Mr. Rogers. So that's thing number one. And thing number two about this new setup is, as you're smoking your pipe, I'm not getting as much smoke all up in my grill, and that's good. I like that. Not that it's unpleasant, but it's
No, I understand.
yeah.
I was conscious of it before.
Yeah.
There were a couple times where I looked like I was sending smoke screens your way. I was like, damn, you okay, buddy?
He's enveloped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also changed the filters in the Purifan that I use in here too. So I don't know if that makes a difference.
Huh, I wonder.
But
How were they, or how was the filter? Are there more than one filter? I don't know.
yeah, there's like 5 of them in there.
Okay.
But
Were they good?
yeah, no, I mean they were definitely filtering some stuff out, but you can't really tell as far as the smoke particles and so on. But it picks up dust, it picks up everything, it cleans. They're HEPA filters and they clean the air, and
Yeah.
So I think rotating them on a regular basis is a good idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When you walk into this room, especially knowing that you routinely smoke in here a pipe, it doesn't smell like it. I mean, it smells like pipe tobacco, but it doesn't smell like smoke. It smells like pipe tobacco.
Right. Yeah. Nothing else in here. No cigarettes, and I wouldn't smoke cigars in here if you
Right.
paid me.
Right.
Yeah. God, you smoke a cigar in here, you'll smell it for a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've been there, done that.
Not in here.
Okay,
but
other-
I've had cigars out in the garage or whatnot, and it just stinks up the place for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pipe's not so bad.
Very good. Well, again, thank you for this new setup. I know we're waiting for some other possible equipment, but we may decide this is good and just leave it like this.
Yeah. I like it so far. It's a change up from what we were doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The topic tonight. We've not spoken about it one bit, folks. And I don't know if we're interpreting this as this is Brian's topic, and you picked something that you just kind of gave me this title again with no. So
That's how we do it.
that's how we do it.
So
I'm ready.
So the title is
Yeah.
in the form of a question. What's your story? So what came to mind when I gave you that as a title? What do you think we're talking about?
Well, in the text that you sent me, you said, "What's your story?" and you went on to add just a piece to it. It's a good follow-on to last week's podcast about the downsides of comparing yourself to others. So when I heard "What's your story?" I thought, well, as it relates to comparing yourself to others, who are you? Who are you as a person? What's your story? And having a conversation about that, I guess is.
Well, it's good. We won't be talking about apples and oranges, so that's good, right? So we'll be on the same page.
We talking about apples and kumquats? What are we talking about?
I think we're pretty much on the same page. Mine will take more of a direction of, what do you say about yourself, right? So what's the story you tell about yourself out loud to other people?
Okay.
Because
All right.
ultimately, that is either manifesting or perpetuating your reality by what you
Okay.
continue to say and declare about yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, a question immediately pops to mind. What's your story? What do you tell about people? Well, you might be up to a whole bunch of really good stuff. You might be up to a whole bunch of really bad stuff, but you might be up to something, good, bad, or whatever, that you don't necessarily want to talk about. If it's good stuff that you're up to, you don't want to talk about it. You have a degree of humility that's part of your personality, and you just don't want to get into it and tell them all these great things you're up to. You just want to deliver over time based on. So, where does that fit into your equation?
So I'm not sure. Well, yes, it fits. I guess it's different though. It's on a different parallel, if you will.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because I'm talking about things that are either supportive of who you are. I guess maybe that's where they would fall into.
Okay.
And you don't necessarily want to share that information with folks. You don't want to appear, braggadocious or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
What I'm talking about is using and being aware of language that you use, statements of declaration, etc., things that have formed in your mind over time about who you are and how you are perceived by the world, or how you
Okay.
believe you present yourself to the world.
Okay.
So, let's say, and some of it is fine, right? So let's say I've said, a statement, a declaration statement that I'm not good at singing.
Okay.
And
Right.
I know that. Now I also know that I could be better at singing if that were something that was really important to me,
Right.
and I wanted to take the time and go get better at that.
Right.
I just think that a lot of people kind of rat hole themselves into a corner
Yeah.
by things that they declare about themselves. They may not allow themselves to experience things in life because people in their past, their folks that they know, their family members, let's say folks. I'll use the word, not the word. I'll use the alcohol as an example. There's a lot of people that don't drink alcoholic beverages at all,
Right.
for fear of how they will become like somebody in their past.
Mm-hmm.
And for as long as they have that fear and continue to tell that story, that's exactly how that's going to show up. Just because somebody in your past had a problem or abused alcohol doesn't mean that you're going to.
Right.
Absolutely has no factor into it. You're your own being, and you can be and do whatever you want to do. So don't get sucked into. Well, I shouldn't set that down without taking a drink. And just because other people have had bad experiences doesn't mean that you're going to. You can decide how you want it to be. You have the ability. I think Churchill said something to the effect of, "History will be kind to me, for I intend to write it." And you need to write your own history, write your own
Serious
story,
wisdom in that quote.
and tell
Right.
it the way you see it being. And don't like I've said this about myself, right? I'm not good at math. I think in the bigger problem with me in math in my younger days is I didn't give a fuck.
Right.
I could care less about math.
Right.
School for me was a social activity,
Right.
and all that other shit I had to do in the meantime was just annoying me.
Right.
It was interfering with my social life. Now I think I found myself at a older age. We won't say an advanced age. I'm not there yet. Maybe you can offer a perspective from that point of view.
I will not criticize you for your youth and inexperience.
Fair enough. And I will absolutely praise you for saying that I am youthful and inexperienced.
Right.
Because I've got a lot to learn. And
Yes,
I
you
am
do.
much younger than you.
Yes, you are.
No, it's but I think it's things like that you from your formative years and beyond, that you start to believe about yourself, or you've had a bad experience where you failed in a certain endeavor, and now you make up your mind that you suck at that and you never try it again. And you might let's. I know I've used this example before, but imagine what we would be doing now if Thomas Edison had decided on his first attempt and failure at creating the light bulb that he sucks at this and he's not going to do it anymore.
Right.
What will we be doing?
I like it. I like the topic. Yeah. I now know where you're headed, and that's not the way I interpreted it, and that's fine. This is great, actually. What's the story you're putting out there and that you're telling yourself? And I have in my office at home the quote: "The best way to predict the future is to create it."
Yep.
And that's basically what you're talking about. The story that you're putting out there. What is your story? What is the story that you're telling? I got a pet peeve I got to tell you about.
Bring it.
And there are many people out there who have really good memories that they take pride in their good memories.
Right.
And those same people will say, and this is where the pet peeve part comes in. "Oh, I'm terrible with names. I'm terrible with names." You know what I say to that? Bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not true. You're great with names. You just don't care to stop and pay attention.
It's not important enough to you.
That's correct.
To lock it in.
Right.
Yeah.
And I learned long ago that people's names are the most important words that can come out of your mouth about them. Calling them by their names.
Sweet music to your ears.
Sweet.
Everybody loves their own name.
Everybody loves their own name. And so if you pay attention to what people's names are and you repeat them back, especially when they don't expect it, you've just made some seriously good points with those people. And if you got a good memory and there's nothing wrong with you and you're saying that I'm bad with names, no, you're not. Just take a minute. So anyway, that's a side
The first
step.
thing, so you want to change that? The first thing you need to do is stop fucking saying it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Stop saying you're bad with names.
Right.
Change your story.
Somebody's going to be mad at me for saying
Right?
this, by the way. I know somebody's going to say, "Oh, I say that all the time." And, we're probably going to hear about it.
Well, then you should say, well, maybe you should stop.
Right. Right.
Or, maybe you should own the fact that you don't give a shit enough to listen to somebody when they tell you their name.
Stop for a minute. And, I like it. Yeah, and I put the story out there. Well, first of all, that's you. And I think, when you put those vibes out there, when you propagate your story,
Right.
you bet.
It is as self-limiting as the belief that accompanies it.
If it's a self-limiting story that you're putting out there.
Right.
Right.
And in many cases, and I guess for me, that's kind of what, where I'm going with this. Right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
If people are telling good stories about themselves that are uplifting and representing themselves in a positive way, then I'm all about it. Keep doing that.
Right.
I'm really focused on, people understanding and catching themselves telling a story that has a negative impact on their future capabilities.
Yeah.
By continuing to, tell that story.
You bet.
Oh
yeah, it does become a self-fulfilling prophecy over time. I'm bad at math. I'm not good with names. It can be I'm not. I hate running. It can be I'm like you said. I'm horrible at anything.
You know what I say about running?
What's that?
So I say if you see me running, it means I'm out of ammo, and how's it go? If I'm out of ammo, and I usually say this amongst my friends, right, or my brothers. I'll be like, if you see me running, it means I'm out of ammo, and none, or all my modes of transportation are broken down, and none of you motherfuckers would answer your phones.
I think I saw a T-shirt along those same lines recently that said, "If you ever see me running, shoot whatever it is that's chasing me."
Right. Yeah, I love the. Here's a shout out for Felix. Right, I love the Bomb Tech T-shirt that says, "If you see me running, try to keep up."
That's it. That is a good one. All right, so now I've gone into I'm evaluating your story based on what I know about.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, now what you got?
I'm good. I think you're telling. I think you have a good balance. I think you have.
No, I appreciate that. And should you catch me violating what I have just talked about,
right?
I would appreciate it if you'd call that out.
Or anybody.
Yeah.
Or anybody.
Yeah, because I certainly don't intentionally set out to do that, and would want to know if that was happening.
Right.
Right. Because I would want to do that differently.
There's a whole thing about self-effacing comments where, you're cutting yourself down in a group because and if you're doing it out of humor, that's fine. It's no problem. But if you're really doing that, if you talk down about yourself on a routine basis, seriously, that gets embedded into your subconscious mind, and it really does start to become true. And at some point, it definitely becomes true.
Well, in some ways, maybe it's a cry for, people to pump you up because you do have a self-esteem problem.
Right.
And that's why you're saying the things that you're saying, because in many cases people will argue with you and offer, countering opinions on that and examples of how you're not that way and how you're very positive in this way and so on, things that'll build you up. So it might be somebody's, yell or for help.
Yeah, so taking the time to take inventory, right, of the story that you're telling. Think about the language that you speak, both in your head as well as actually out loud. And probably more importantly is the words that you say out loud.
Yeah.
Because that's really getting out there.
Yeah, I mean, ask yourself if you're comfortable in that being the state of being, right? So if you continue to tell that story, know it's not going to change, and ask yourself, is that okay? Am I comfortable being that, whatever it is that you just declared?
Yeah.
And if you're not, then change the story and come up with something new. Decide what you want to be that's different from that and start telling that story.
Yeah. And think about what it is that you really love to do or you really love to spend time at. And as you think about those things, start telling stories about that. I love to, garden. I'm really good at it. And you probably are, actually. But tell that story. I'm really good. It doesn't matter what the topic is. It could be a work-related subject. It could be some sort of hobby. It could be singing or acting or running or whatever it is. And if you really love it, start telling a story there that matches what it is that you love.
Yeah, and here's a connection that I hadn't made until just now. But we've talked about affirmations and afformations before, and ultimately that's what your story is. It's either it's an affirmation or an afformation. The difference there being
I was gonna say I don't know what the difference. It's the first time I've heard this. So
all right, so affirming is basically saying something that is so, right?
Acknowledging it, okay.
Yeah, and affirmation is a form of creation. So you're forming something, and it's actually there's I forget the gentleman that's written about this, but there's a whole shift out there in that world of affirmation versus afformation, in that our minds work to answer questions, right? So when we are age 2 to 3, or maybe even longer, what's the one question that we ask over and over and over again?
It's been a while since I've
Come on, this 2-year-olds, what do they say?
Why?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Why?
Right.
That's how our brains work. We want to know the answer. We said that the universe abhors a vacuum, and we want to know the answer to stuff. So when you take an affirmation, so let's say I use the example of public speaking, right? So public speaking is supposedly the number one fear among the American public.
Okay.
And
might be worldwide public.
Yeah, maybe. But ultimately, providing, let's say you needed to be a public speaker, or you needed to speak in public for your job or whatever, and you needed to be better at that. Well, the first thing that you could do is you could create an affirmation that says, I enjoy public speaking. I love getting in front of a crowd and sharing information with them. And in the form of an affirmation, that little gremlin on your shoulder is whispering in your ear, bullshit. That scares the hell out of you. There's no joy in that whatsoever for you. You're petrified by it.
Right.
And so you've got that self-doubt that just keeps spinning in there. The affirmation methodology is you change it into the form of a question, and you ask yourself, why is it that I'm really inspired by standing in front of an audience and sharing information with them? And why is it that I have such a good time doing that, and I feel so drawn to do that? because now your mind is that little guy on your shoulder is not providing that argument that, no, that's bullshit. No, he's over there going, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
And now your mind's working in a different direction to answer that question. So that's the difference between affirmation and affirmation.
Yeah, okay. I like that too a lot. And I have believed for a very long time and suggest that anybody do this. Your mind will always answer the questions that you ask of it.
Right.
And so the questions that you ask yourself are extremely important. And if you ask yourself, how can I get better at this? Or how can I improve that? Or where can I go to get exposed to information that I need on something? Your mind will start working on that. Both conscious and subconscious mind will start working on that. And as you answer those questions for yourself, and you start to piece things together, then it has a very definite impact on the story that you tell yourself, because you have more information, and you're doing it in a direction that you are focused on and trying to improve. I love that.
Yeah, so the question I'd have for folks that are listening and watching is, what is your story? And are you happy with the way it's continuing to present you to the world? Or do you want something about it to be different? And if you do want something about it to be different, what is it? And how do you need to change your story to get there?
Yep. And then going full circle all the way back to what we talked about on the previous podcast about being yourself, your story needs to be consistent with who you are, not who somebody else wants you to be. The best way to predict the future is to create it.
Yes,
Who
indeed.
are you? Who are you? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And a good way to start that is to think about, and many people tell you to go through this exercise, but it really works. What do you want folks to be saying about you at your funeral? What is it that you are? Who is it that you are that you want to project into the future to say, this is who this person is?
Yeah, there's a whole personal development exercise around writing your own eulogy.
Right.
Yeah.
You do that, and all of a sudden you start trying to fill in the gaps. How do I get from here to there? Tremendously powerful. And that becomes your story.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I enjoyed that, man. That's a good conversation.
You bet. I did too.
Anything else you need to add?
Not a thing.
All right. Well, I got one more thing I need to add. In addition to that question that I put out there about figuring out what your story is, I'd also encourage you, no matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, make sure between this podcast and the next, you take time to enjoy the ride.
Thank you for
And
listening
subscribe.
to this episode of the Graybeard Chronicles.
Cheers.
Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.